First of all, I wish to thank Reverend Katie for inviting me to be the pulpit guest for celebrating classical music. I also wish to thank Lauren Avery, the concertmaster of the San Juan Symphony, for joining me in two pieces for violin and piano. From the time I was a baby, and perhaps even before, I was surrounded by classical music. My parents had a large collection of classical recordings, and both had studied music. My mother was a trained soprano, and my father played the organ and the piano. On many Saturdays, the radio was tuned to the Metropolitan Opera broadcasts. One of the favorite childhood memories for my younger sister Bonnie and me was listening to my parents perform together after we went to bed. I guess it should be no surprise that Bonnie and I both became professional musicians, she on the cello and me on the piano. I began studying piano seriously at age 8 with the best teacher in our county in California. At about age 10, I decided that I wanted to be a concert pianist. After studying with the same teacher for 10 years, I entered the University of Southern California as a piano major. I quickly realized that the competition was fierce for becoming a performing concert pianist. Thus, I revised my goal to college teaching, which would allow me to impart my skills and knowledge to others and also to perform. My performance preferences settled on performing as a soloist and as a chamber musician in small ensembles. The longest lasting of those was with my sister, Bonnie. We formed a professional cello-piano duo in the early 1980s and performed recitals together off and on until last year, a very rewarding part of our lives. Our last public recital took place at this church on November 22nd, 2019, and it turned out to be one of our best ever. Over the centuries, many have written about the meaning of music. One of my university courses was about the aesthetics of music, and one requirement was to read a book entitled A Theology of Music, written by Alfred Pike in 1953. Though I found many of his statements quite subjective, some of his writing did resonate with me. Pike described classical music as a manifestation of the spiritual in time. Music is symbolic and points to a meaning beyond itself and beyond words. I certainly have experienced the latter, for example, when listening to J.S. Bach's Passions and Sacred Cantatas. As a Unitarian Universalist, I do not relate closely to the texts in those works, since Bach was a devoted Lutheran, but the music itself is deeply spiritual for me. My sister published a book in 2016 entitled Journey into the Heart of Music. At the beginning of the book, she wrote the following that is entirely in line with my beliefs. Music is a language, a virtually unlimited one. Perhaps it is even the ultimate language. As with all languages, it is a tool for communication. Though written and spoken language can be beautiful poetry, communicating more than the words alone, music conveys great passion, emotion, attitudes, qualities, and that which is beyond words. Most recently, I especially appreciated what Thomas Heuser, the music director of the San Juan Symphony, wrote at the beginning of his program notes for the virtual symphony concert last month. The first two sentences are as follows. Music has the power to evoke the entire range of human emotions, from love to despair and everything in between. Perhaps no other art form has the ability to send shivers down your spine. And it is precisely because of that visceral reaction that many of us have devoted our lives to the performing arts. When I wrote my story of my spiritual evolution for this church 10 years ago, I spoke about music in the last paragraph, stating the following with a bit of current editing. When I am listening to certain pieces of music or performing at my best, I feel a deep spiritual connection to the composer and hope that I am communicating something meaningful to my listeners while I'm performing. Friends in this congregation have told me that my music has helped them feel and deal with grief over the loss of a loved one, or that my music has brought tears to their eyes. That kind of feedback makes all the study and practicing of a piece of music so worthwhile. I will conclude this presentation with a performance of a quintessential Nocturne by Chopin. I especially love this piece because it represents such a wide range of emotional, psychological states. The two outer sections exhibit expressive, lyrical melodies, while the middle section is very dramatic and passionate. Before I go to the piano, I wish to conclude my talk by reading a quote from a poem by Anthony Hunt, a friend of Ron's since 1963 when they were together in the Peace Corps. The title is Where Music Lives, written in 2008 and revised in 2014. This is the segment from the poem. And so I listen to the dancing strings in mystery, that long pull of the cello's bow, the silence that comes afterwards, the harmony blown softly from the lungs that takes my breath away, the rhythm of the beating drum, or is that the cadence of my life I hear? These profound sounds that lift and sway me so, such stunning melodies that stir my day.
you.